Thumbs up when you see us live. Cool. Okay, so thank you, Jane. This is Career Lab Wednesday. We are here every Wednesday, noon to 1 p.m. Central Time. And our job is to support you in your career development. So whether that's at the current company you're at, or whether that means transitioning to something with more opportunity or a better fit, or if it means that you've been at the same place for a long time and you want to continue leveling up there, all aspects of your career, any career related questions, could even be about how to get along with somebody that you're working with better. Welcome, Dr. Gordon Medlock. Great having you here.
Thanks.
And we're open to any and all questions. We have been especially focused on emotional intelligence recently. A lot of people have had questions about that, about how to relate. We break things down in this career course about how to make deeper contact with people, how to have more influence. And I want to tee up a little bit of what I'll be sharing more about tomorrow evening in Lead with Emotional Intelligence, the Secret to Success and Satisfaction. What we've found is that it's really helpful to look at yourself as a leader from any position that you're in. Let's say that you're a new hire and you're going into a meeting. If I think of myself as a leader, I will tend to be able to influence more. But I want to take it a step further. One of the things that's even more helpful to consider is that I'm leading simply by being alive. So there's no such thing as not leading. So if I am in a meeting, sitting there, feeling awkward, not liking what's going on, but I'm not going to say anything, well, I'm leading towards sitting there, resenting everybody and not saying anything. So I have an impact no matter what. And there's all kinds of cool research around how much of an impact all human beings have on each other. Things like if somebody on the other side of a restaurant orders like 3 desserts, it actually will influence you on the other side, even if you're not even seeing them, to order more. So there's just a lot of ways that we impact each other. So it's helpful for us to consider ourselves leaders. So when we're going into interviews, how am I leading in that interview? If I'm trying to lead towards, selling, looking good, that doesn't work so well, because then I'm not necessarily making great contact with the person I'm talking to. But like what Dr. Medlock has shared with us before is like to treat the other person, the person who's interviewing me, as a person, and to be curious about them and what their needs are in that spot, in the position at the company, etc. And then I'm actually leading us towards talking about the job and really getting into what we need to be talking about, as opposed to me leading towards trying to look good. So just a quick, some of what I'm going to get more into tomorrow evening. So there's a link to it in the chat. Thank you, Jane. Would love to see more there and to go deeper into this topic. But I want to open up to everybody. We invite you to jump in with any questions that you have. Janet, great to see you here again. Eric Miro, great seeing you. And James, good to have you. It's been a minute since you checked in, James. So that being said, Dr. Medlock, I guess as we've got folks jumping in here, is there any more that you want to say about emotional intelligence and leadership?
Well, I think just to reinforce some of the things you're saying is just so, I think, accurate that the ability to be really present in whatever meeting we're in with a clear sense of the purpose and what it is that's going to help orient you toward, fulfilling that purpose, whether it's to get a job or whether it's to have a meeting with your boss where you're looking at pitching a proposal or developing new opportunities, and to just really, and also be willing to sometimes be in the not knowing. I think that's what I find sometimes very difficult is a lot of times I'm in a meeting, I'm not sure where we're headed and what's going on, and being okay in the not knowing and letting that focus emerge when maybe it's a direction that you hadn't anticipated to be going, to kind of explore that. So just the ability to be present to yourself while you're with another person is a core skill that we teach it right is really foundational. And it's essential in interviews. It's essential in the way you do your work, the way you communicate with your colleagues. And we view business as a process of relationship. It's not just a matter of making money, although that's part of why we're together, but it's about, and also about producing and serving clients, producing good products. All of that's there, but it's the relationship and communication piece that makes it all happen and make sure that we're being effective or not. So developing these skills are not just kind of a good idea, they're essential. So.
Dr. Medlock, that is great. And I want to riff on what you just said about being in the unknown. As we do this thing on our weekend trainings where we invite the participants to not know and to ask questions. And it's actually a skill it's so cool to me that on a training, we spend like 15 minutes of like a bunch of people sitting there and being like, you know what? I really don't understand a lot of this content that I'm sitting here with, and I'm just really grappling with it. And we don't even try to get an answer. We just are, the skill that we're developing is to be with the question. Because it's really not something that is taught, and there's not a lot of focus on that. So I so appreciated this past weekend when we were on this training. And I was like, this is great. There's like 100 people, and we're all just sitting here being like, geez, this is blowing my mind. I don't really know, and I'm going to keep staying with I don't know.
Yeah.
And then working that muscle. It's like running drills. I think about basketball. You do the things that in games where you have breakdowns so that you're developing that muscle. And we're literally there developing this muscle of not knowing and being able to be conscious and available while not knowing. And now down to the emotional intelligence piece. I'm feeling afraid while I'm there. And if I'm trying to not feel afraid, then I get distracted and I go away and all this kinds of things. So I wanted to riff on that because it brought me back to a cool memory from this weekend.
Great.
So welcome everybody. This is Career Lab Wednesday. We're here every Wednesday, noon to 1 p.m. Central. We invite you to update us with your progress in your career, ask questions. There's no question too small or too big. And there's a few ways you can do that. If you're watching on YouTube, you can type your questions into the comment section. If you're on LinkedIn Live, go ahead and type your questions into the comment section. We'll get those over here in a sec. We'll do our best to get to you there. If you can, we love it when you jump in live on the Zoom meeting and we can work with you directly. So if you have any questions about that, just type that into the chat and we'll give you the link to come in here. So we've got more folks jumping in here. Laura, great to have you. Eric Miro, Joe Logan, good to see you.
Yes, our guest too. It's always good to have Joe show up. I'd like to have you just check in, Joe. Tell us what's going on.
Hello, hi everyone. Thanks for the invite. Looking forward to the conversation.
Right. Sounds good, Joe. And I was so happy to see. I saw you connected with Dr. Wright, and just glad to be able to make that introduction. Welcome, Tyrone. Laura, I'm not sure if we've had you on before. How can we serve you today? Okay.
I'm just listening. I was invited to come on, and I haven't done so before, so I thought I'd.
Oh, great!
Listen on.
Well, welcome.
I'm going to take the thought leader training coming up here, so I'll go from there.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, let us know if there's any way we can serve you. You're welcome to type questions into the chat as well.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Okay. Well, James, I know that you've been wanting to join in for a bit. Can you give us an update? And maybe not. Okay, got it. Eric, tell us what's going on.
Yeah, so can you hear me okay?
Yep,
Yeah.
we got you.
Excellent. So I would say good things, gotten a couple good jobs and a couple, not projects, but just kind of challenges that have come up that I've been able to resolve. I think just kind of continuing to improve my role in this kind of middleman relationship I have, where, I have one side where it's kind of our owner company that we work with a lot, or at least my products are sold to them on their end. And then working with the plants who are under the company umbrella. So they're my co-workers in essence. And trying to balance between, keeping this main distributor, co-owner company happy while also keeping the plants, them happy in a sense, not trying to work with them to understand their flexibilities and needs. So, and then of course there's an asymmetry of information where the co-owner company can see all the demand, and of course the plants, they know exactly what's going on day to day in terms of any issues or whatnot. So just trying to, continue to work this middleman relationship that I'm in, and keep all parts, including myself, sane between everything.
Cool. So you're juggling a couple of demands from very different perspectives. So can you tell us a little bit more about, from a social emotional intelligence perspective, what's the biggest challenge you're experiencing for yourself in this?
Yeah, so I do, one of the plants I work with, they are on site, but it's not like I'm going down to the plant to meet with the guy who runs the area I work with, and then the two other plants are out of state. So basically the majority of interaction I have with them is just over voice call, either phone calls or usually Teams. Same thing with the co-owner company. So a big part of this relationship is because the co-owner company who can see the demand, they can't see the production. They're very keen on knowing exactly, or having the plants produce exactly what they need on exactly the day they need it. And sometimes that's auto over the plant, sometimes it's not, which is a bit of a different conflicting story than what we were originally told, where they were kind of looking more on the aggregate level. So kind of trying to stay away from micromanaging the plants, but kind of having to do a little bit of that, just because that's a key part of what I'm supposed to do with the products that I plan for. So
What do you mean by micromanaging?
So I get a production report every day that says, okay, what did the plant make yesterday? And I have to go through and basically check, okay, did they make exactly the amount, or at least close to the amount that they said they would, and the SKUs that they said they would produce. And then checking with them if they underproduced, or even if they overproduced. Usually underproducing is obviously going to be more of an issue, but basically asking them why they were short or why they produced more than what was planned for, just because of inventory costs and all that fun stuff. So kind of really basically checking them almost every day on their production to see did they do exactly what they did, even though sometimes maybe there was an issue in another part of the plant that led them to do a different SKU because they didn't want to completely shut down production, but then technically they didn't make exactly what I needed. So I have to not necessarily call them out, but basically check, okay, well, are you going to make this other SKU that I need you to do another day? I know they will, but I have to ask that because the co-owner company planner will ask me about it because they check that daily and ask me about it.
So Eric, what I'm hearing is you're in a tough position because you don't have authority over that plant, but you are essentially, they are communicating between the owner and the plant. So you can make people unhappy on both sides real quickly, right?
Yes.
There's a potential for a lot of frustration with that. So how do you on the one side, how do you manage the
Thank you
relationship?
for calling McDonald's. My name's Janet. How can I help you today?
Janet, you're on mute.
I got it.
Got it. Okay, good. How do you manage the relationship with the plants so that they see you as a support rather than simply an agent of the owner, kind of hovering over them, ready to sort of punish them if they don't get things done? I mean, how do you build that relationship in a way that they see you as an ally, and what is the value that they see you bringing for them? That is speak to a little bit about that, so I get a better sense of how you're able to influence in a positive way without just being seen as an obstacle, perhaps, or as a threat.
Right. No, yeah. And I try to make sure I always get their full story and kind of understand the picture. And then I do my best to truthfully, go to bat for them when I'm communicating back to Tate Lyle, like, letting them know that, it's, kind of not maybe reminding them all the time, but making sure emphasizing that, we're doing what we can to make sure that we make everything you guys need. Obviously, the planners I work with, they're, seasoned folks. So they're not, they understand that there's going to be issues that pop up, and that, the plants generally are pretty reliable, and that, if they're going to have to repack a different SKU, they're generally going to pack something it's still needed. It may just not be on that day. So I guess I do my best to, listen to the plants and understand their side of the story, acknowledge that, and then also on the other end, kind of go to bat for them when I can to, if there's any issues with Tate Lyle, push back, or with the parent company, I should say, to push back and, kind of temper their expectations and manage those to kind of, I guess, shield the plants a little bit from getting the brunt of any ire that may come. Now, sometimes there's a case where, like we had some product that was sitting there for several months. That was a return that they didn't tell me about. So I told them, I can't help you if you don't tell me everything. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. It speaks to it a lot. And in terms of level of satisfaction, how would you rate the level of satisfaction of the owners with your performance in this role at this point?
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up, because that was actually a point of positive feedback from my boss that apparently, they like working with me a lot. They always have good feedback on me when I guess I'm brought up, or there's discussions around my products brought up. So even though there's some days where it seems like they're not happy with me, I guess they are happy with me.
Congratulations. Because
Yeah.
that's ultimately the important piece, right? You're able to
Right.
to serve a valuable function for them. They feel a sense of safety, that security, that things are getting handled. And it sounds like you're doing a good job. So that's the best way to develop a career, is to do a good job, produce good results, make people happy. So way to go. Nice job.
Yeah, I know. I recently kind of brought up, taking those next steps in my career with my boss, and now I'm getting some more responsibility, kind of taking a bit off of another planner's plate who's a bit overwhelmed. So I'm taking over some of her products to help kind of manage those. Nothing like official announced yet, but kind of in the starting stages of that. So
For you.
Oh, good.
Nice move. So you're developing your own career and taking initiative on that and getting results. So good to hear. Thank you for that. Thanks for
Yep.
checking in with us on that. Good to hear.
yeah, no problem.
Fantastic, Eric. Nice work. So this is Career Lab Wednesday. We're here every Wednesday, noon to 1 p.m. Central, and we invite all questions. There's no question too big, no question too small. Oftentimes we have people joining in as they're developing in their process, like Eric, what he's working on and how he's taking on initiative, sharing. And one of the things I really liked about what he was sharing was the listening to other people, having them feeling seen. That's a soft skill that's really important. To have people feel understood. It actually taps a very deep yearning. These are worldwide yearnings. Every single person on the planet has feelings and has deep yearnings. And when those yearnings aren't met in moment-to-moment interactions, we feel hurt, and we have breaches, and communication becomes harder. So I was really happy to hear that about paying attention, even if I often think I know what's happened or I think I understand a scenario or something. In one way, it doesn't even matter if I do or not. I mean, it does, but in this interpersonal way, the really important thing is that the other person feels understood and known by me. So I was really happy to hear that that's what you're doing, Eric. Nice work with that one. So I want to open up the floor to anybody who is jumping in here. You are able to come in on the Zoom. We love that. We're able to work with you directly, get updated directly. If you're not able to, you can type your questions or your updates into the comment section in LinkedIn or on YouTube. So would love to open up the floor to anybody. How can we serve you today?
Yes, thank you.
Hey, Tyrone.
Thank you guys for opening up the floor. I always wanted to hear that. You know,
Great. Hey, great to see your podcast launch. I saw that on LinkedIn.
yes, it's going to be tonight at 8 o'clock. And for anyone who wants to learn about communicating with confidence, well, we're going to have a gentleman by the name of Derek Miller. He's a district leader for Primerica Financial Insurance, and he's also an entrepreneur. So he's gonna dive in on his skill sets and marketing, successful marketing skills.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah,
Tyrone, how do I find that so I can share it here?
I'm gonna post a link up to you guys.
Perfect.
I'm gonna post a link up in a second, and I don't want to be too long. It's amazing what you just said about worldwide yearnings, because I had a late class last night, and I'm preparing for the Zoom meeting. I'm preparing the PowerPoints and stuff like that and I had to like kind of let go of my own duties, but at the same time incorporate others to do what they do best. And there's a lady, she's part of the team, and it's kind of weird that you mentioned about worldwide yearnings, because I was trying to get in contact with her for a couple of weeks, but I know she has her own foundation. She's working a new position, plus she's raising a daughter, so that's a lot. So and that's the thing, and everyone has that yearning. And I was yearning like for, where is she? But I know she's busy, but I did hear back from her this morning. She said, hey, I still don't understand like what, in terms of what the meeting is going to be about, but I would love to be a moderator. And I mean, it just made me feel good that she even like stepped to the plate. And she even said like, hey, I noticed there may be inconsistencies, and she said you're very good at networking, communicating, and exploring ideas, being and what she really was trying to say, which I already know, because I like creating content. You know, I love doing the artwork for the meeting. I love creating. So
cool.
And then she said, but I feel as though that you should just kind of like start off with the presentation and let others come on in, you know, just dive on in. And that's what I related to her. I said, hey, I've already had those conversations with the other two guys, and they already know. So, and I just got off the phone with one of them, and he said, well, I'm not too good at, I'm just basically, I like to kind of sit back and analyze and stuff like that, but I will provide input. So I said, and I said, no worries. I said, that's what it's all about. I mean, meeting people halfway, but like you said, that worldwide yearning.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Great to hear, and that you're resonating with that, Tyrone.
Yeah.
And so may you meet many yearnings in the podcast tonight and get lots of affirmation
Yes.
from the folks on there and from the listeners.
Yes. Yes.
Cool. Well, let us know how it goes.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm gonna put the link up in right now.
Awesome. Excellent stuff. So, again, there's a few ways you can join in. You can jump in to Zoom on the link provided there. And if you have any questions about anything career related, whether you're in the interview process, if you are talking to management, talking to your team, and you're wanting to have more of an impact, there's no question too big, no question too small. Let us know how we can serve you today. What are you working on that you want to move forward? What are you working on that you are stuck on and need some support with? You can type your questions into the chat here in Zoom. You can type them into the comment section on YouTube or on LinkedIn Live.
And also any successes you have that you want to share. We always like to look at and analyze what it was you're doing well, so we can build on that, so you can develop capacity to continue to doing that and more of it. So
Here. That is true. We have what we call the CAVE process. So C is for celebrate. And it's important to celebrate because it trains our brain to do more of that same activity, the same behavior. And then we analyze how we came to do it. Then we vision for how we're going to do it again. And then we go do it.
yeah.
Right.
So Joe, you got a few things to share about how things are going in Hawaii. I'd like to kind of catch up a little bit. How's it going?
Things are going very well. There's in the past, my first 100 days into my fourth month, we've met with all the patrol individuals, those in uniform, and then now I'm going to reach out to all the personnel in the department that are in other divisions that support the patrol entity, or the main portion or the backbone of our department, right? And so that's next. That's going on the schedule, trying to figure out how to fit all of that in. At the same time, work with all the agencies that are connected to all our stakeholders, continuing to get meetings outside, meeting with Rotary clubs and Lions clubs and all the community members that are out there, just so one, they get to know who I am, and then two, where I plan to move the department. Our strategic plan is still being drafted, so we're working through that. We should have a final by the mid-December timeframe. So that'll be 6 months in. And that'll shape the department for really the next 20 years. I want to set the vision, so it's not just every 5 years a new chief comes in, slam, here's my goals and objectives for my 5 years. How about we move the department well into the future, set a vision, and then each chief after that can, tweak it to where they need it and what their priorities are, but still heading to a vision of caring for
Great.
Employees, right? So
that sounds great. And I think you're underscoring for everybody to hear notice how much relationship building is what Joe's about. It's building those connections, being known, connecting, understanding what the needs are of the people he's working with, and then also taking that into the bigger picture of what's the vision of where we're all going, so we can all kind of unite around a common purpose and vision. So good leadership skills, really important at any level of your organization, but particularly at the level that you're working. So good to hear, Joe, and it's good to hear that things are going well. Congratulations.
I appreciate that. And now my time is to pay back those that helped me. So I'm putting out names as we come to an election. This in November, we have a new governor, a new administration, new organization. So there's leadership positions out there that may be available, and putting the right people up there that I know will do the best job. From my experiences of living here for 50 years and then the last 10 or 15 years being at the top levels of government, understanding who's an up and comer and who will fit in the new organizations.
Great opportunity.
Fantastic. And Joe, I wanted to check with you on something. I got to watch some of your interviews and things on YouTube. It would be fun if we were able to share those. I just wanted to check with you though to see if that'd be cool if we post any of those on our feed in YouTube or on LinkedIn.
I think but my understanding, if it's out there in the public, it's public information. So I don't see why not. I mean, you could
Cool.
ask my PIO, but I think as long as it's already in the public.
Yep, it's already on your on the news stations.
Right. And so Matt Levi did a 30-minute documentary on me, my family, and how we got to Hawaii and lived here and what we've done since I've been here and how I got to the top. And so that made its final airing on the TV stations, and it should be on YouTube in the coming months.
Oh, fantastic. I look forward to seeing that. That's really cool.
So I don't know how I guess you go on YouTube and Google or search for Matt Levi, Levi, and then should be able to come up with a documentary. He's done several for previous chiefs, very well known. I've known him for 40 years now as an investigative reporter, and he has other businesses and things he's doing throughout the city.
Oh, cool. Cool. Thank you for
He
that.
used to do Cops before the Cops was a television show. He came with us on raids when we were in narcotics some 35 years ago, and he would film the raids and the search warrant and all the stuff that we did. And then a couple of years later, the Cops program came out on television.
Right on. Okay. Oh, cool. Thanks for that history.
I'm sorry to interrupt. What was the name of the documentary?
That's a good question.
If you type it, so actually, Joe, you're actually not that hard to find on YouTube. It wasn't a challenge. So Tyrone, if you type in Joe Logan Honolulu, you'll find them.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, I mean,
It's got a lot of my TV stuff, but the documentary should be out soon. I would just put in the search bar on the YouTube, Matt, M-A-T-T, Levi, L-E-V-I. And then it should be, I don't know when it was going to publish. I can ask him. I was going to go meet with him tomorrow morning. We exercise. I know where he is every morning, so I meet him and do about an hour walking around the park while we
Oh,
chat.
right on.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, fantastic. Looking forward to seeing it, Joe. And
Yeah, it's just a genuine history of me, who I am, how I came to be, and it talks about some of the issues that you'll see on when you internet search me. I mean, everything's not positive. They'll talk about my son who's got his issues and he's dealing with what he's got to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Okay.
cool.
So even though we're at the top, we're all not perfect. There are things going on in our lives that we have to deal with.
Sure.
But that's all about leadership. Right? How do you deal with all of that and still continue to lead your organization the best way you can, and caring for your employees while at the same time, you've got this in the background that people are worried about. And for me, the biggest issue is, can I lead an organization with a son who's doing what he's doing, and then ensure that he doesn't get any special treatment because of my position? And I made it a point throughout this department that you will not treat him any differently than anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that is a significant thing you're talking about. And
Very tough decision to make, but
yeah. I could share a lot about this in terms of we go into systems work and systems coaching, and the importance of having boundaries and limits and things, and having really empowering people to develop however they need to develop. And because it's so easy to when we look at the drama triangle that we go much further into on some of our trainings, where there's a persecutor, a victim, and a rescuer. And anytime people are engaging in that drama triangle, stuff doesn't get done. There's all kinds of research about it where if it's like for me as a coach and coming from a conservative Christian missionary background, I'm like a very well-trained rescuer. and so I can try to like do a lot of good for other people, but really underneath it, it's like I'm wanting that done for myself. And I haven't taken responsibility for asking for what I want, getting my needs met directly. And so I can just like end up trying to do this stuff for other people and then underneath resenting everybody and turning into a bit of a martyr about it. And so it just doesn't work for satisfying and effective relationships, and it doesn't help things get done in the office, etc. So it's kind of a simple concept, but we are so trained in engaging in the drama triangle that it's kind of hard for us to see. It's like, seeing the forest for the trees.
Right.
It's something what you said. I don't mean to interrupt, George, but it's something that you and Joe are hitting on, because I had a talk with one of my sergeants. It was about 3-4 in the morning. It's amazing because he loved to come in the office and he loved for me to tell jokes and he would just laugh. But we did have a lot of those underlying conversations. And he told me one morning, he said, Gilbert, yes. And I told him of a situation that I have with helping someone out that was less fortunate. And I never forget what he told me. He said, yeah, that's fine and dandy, but understand that sometimes you just can't help everybody, And when he said that, I mean, this is like 3:30 in the morning. Yeah. I mean, because I work overnights and weekends, and but just by him saying that to me, it just let me it gave me a better understanding of who I was. And yeah, I mean, everyone, it's a quote I heard not too long ago. A lot of people don't want to be involved in their own rescue. It's amazing. It's amazing. That's I mean, it's funny, but when you really think about it,
Right.
a lot of people, I mean, it's up to the individuals. So
yeah.
And Joe, I commend you, because when you said that reminded me a lot of my father. He was like well known throughout the community, and just going back to that era, I mean, it was like wherever he took me, it was like, hey, you're his son, so you better not be doing things you're not supposed to. It was just one of those things. But in essence, it was also like, hey, whatever I did, he would let me know far in advance, like, hey, if this happens, this will happen to you. So whenever I did mess up, and he knew it, but whenever I did mess up, he let me know that, hey, I'm not gonna be able to help you all the time. It's just one of those things you have to learn on your own. Because and when you said that earlier about your son, it just kind of resonated, because he didn't want no special treatment for me, and that's what I admired about him. I mean, and now I really understand. But it's through those conversations, through those lectures and stuff like that. yeah, it could get intense. But if both parties know, hey, we want to accomplish something, then
Right on, Tyrone. Thank you for sharing that.
No
For
problem.
sharing your personal story. That's beautiful. And yeah, from the other's perspective of it, yeah, it's challenging in the moment, and there's the growth comes through that. And as we're coming into the final minutes of our show, I do want to check out something and share a little bit about some of the updates we've been getting about an interview process. And Dr. Medlock, I'd like to get your input on what to do when we're at the point where we're now interviewing the interviewer. So we have that confidence, we're getting in the relationship, and we're starting to get a lot of interviews coming up, and we're getting second round interviews. And what's really important to do now that we're at this phase? When somebody is at the phase where now all the work they've done preparing themselves is happening. Everything is now happening.
Great question. So as oftentimes, depending on the position, there are going to be multiple levels of interviews, and you're going to be meeting with different people who have a certain stake in evaluating whether you're the right person or not. So you have to know who you're interviewing with and what the agenda is for that meeting, and what it is that their perspective might be. Like perhaps you've met with an HR person and now you're meeting with the hiring manager, or maybe you've passed through the test of the hiring manager says, I think it's good, but I want you to meet with some of the colleagues that are going to be on your team or going to be part of your network. I've seen people who go all the way through. They seem to be able to click all the boxes and reassure people they're the right person. And they get to that final interview where they're just getting now meeting with the team to see, how do I feel with this person? Is this person I want to work with? And suddenly somebody says, I just don't think it's the person for me. So sometimes that relationship piece at the end becomes the critical factor. And so reading the room correctly, understanding who you're meeting, why they're there, and what their concerns are, and to make sure that you're with them and addressing those concerns, so that when you finish each communication with each person, if it's a multiple person meeting, you feel a sense of completion. If you've got a feeling that there's something still left on the table that didn't get said, sit with that a bit and notice what you're aware of about that, and then maybe ask another question or explore it a little bit more, because you want to leave that room with the sense that we've really put everything on the table. We kind of know where we stand, and hopefully at that point there's an agreement that you're the right person. So, but it really is important to understand who you're meeting with, how you're relating to them, and clarifying what their concerns might be and making sure you're addressing them. I would say those are the main concerns, George Donald, that I'd be having people look at to make sure, and then kind of getting feedback on how they're doing step by step, so that all of that's clear as well. Yeah, Jen.
Yes, oh, that's beautiful.
Okay, so I'm getting a multiple step interviews for a couple places, and they're all over the phone. So I was already told what the process would be, and these are all over the phone. So how do you handle an interview when one's going to be the boss's boss and the other one's a team member, and it's all done over the phone?
So there's no video, there's no person to person sort of. So you're going to have to read the kind of sense of where things are just through a phone, which is a little bit trickier, right? It's a little more difficult. And are you clear about what the purposes are with each person, why they're meeting with you, and what their concerns or interests are?
Yes, one is going to be a fellow teammate, and he's the most senior person. He's basically judging to see if I'm going to be able to handle the job, because it's a totally remote job. And the other one is my boss's boss. And I think it's just because she wanted to meet with the guy who would be my boss, because she's involved, because she wants to talk and get a feel for everybody before they move on to the third step.
I see. So this is another screening step toward a final step. Is that right? What's the final step?
The teammate.
The team meeting?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay, so these are both really critical meetings, right? So, and how are you feeling about the fit for yourself right now and how things are going?
I like it. I think I would be a really good fit there, and it's stuff I actually like doing.
Good, 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 good. And so bringing your excitement about that, your interest in that, really important. At this point, they're really looking at you as a potential colleague. So the energy that you bring, creativity to the job, enthusiasm about whatever the position is, what are the things that you're going to want to be helping them figure out and to do well, and what are the challenges and how you might be able to help them with that. So really, it's again, being really in rapport with them, understanding them, taking the time to understand them, and seeing your job is really serving, in a sense, serving their concerns. In other words, your job is to make sure that you understand what they're most wanting and most concerned about in that role, and that you're going to be able to address those concerns for them so that they feel that security. So does that fit for you in terms of what your own thinking is about it? Yeah. Good. Okay. And are there any specific questions that you want to explore today with in that process?
Mute again. Sorry.
Okay, no problem.
No problem. Okay. I'm reading that you're in good shape. And if not, jump in and let us know on chat or connect with us afterwards.
Yeah.
Sweet. So that's great. Dr. Medlock, thanks for sharing that about, next steps when you're in that process. Good stuff there. Now we are getting a question from YouTube or LinkedIn about working as a project manager for a year and a half in a company until now my upper management informs me what to do, what not to do. But now I have stopped receiving commands from upper management and am feeling I am in my own way. So that's why I'm unable to figure out where to start taking initiative to complete work. Happy to hear from you. Oh, okay. So it sounds like you were getting instructions. Now you're not. My assumption is that if you're able to jump in and talk to us directly, that'd be great. If not, we're just going to go on our assumptions and hope it helps. It sounds like you're doing a good job. So they said, keep doing a good job. And now you're like, uh-oh, how do I make sure of this? So Dr. Medlock, what are your thoughts about this?
Well, a couple of things about the caller. First of all, on the chat is a good level of self-awareness. It sounds like you're really monitoring your own internal reactions about this. And you mentioned something about a concern about, am I getting in my own way? So that's a thing to pursue a little bit, to look at it within yourself. In what way might that be true? Or what are you noticing about that? And what's the challenge you're finding on the job with less direction? It sounds like there's a sense in which suddenly now it's kind of on you to figure out. You may still have some questions that you need some input from the management that's been working with you. Don't be shy about asking for clarification just because they're not reaching out to you so much. If there's something that you feel is really important that helps you connect the dots of what you're going to be doing, feel free to reach out to them. But pay attention to that part. What aspects of you noticing in you that might get in the way that you might need some support around right now? And it's fine to bring that in here. We can work with that, or if you we can do that offline in coaching, or if you have colleagues that you can talk with. But use that awareness to get yourself in a place where you're feeling centered about where you are and your sense of direction. And your job is to be really satisfied about all that, so you know where you're going. And so if you're not feeling sure about that, look at addressing with the right questions, the right reaching out, and the right looking within yourself to figure out how to resolve that. And obviously it's all in the details, so feel free to reach out to either George Donald or myself if you want to dig in a little bit more deeply with that. I think you can just leave that information. George, you'll pick that up, I think.
Yep.
Follow up. Okay. So
yeah, that's great. I don't really know, but I'll just speak to the audience about this. Dr. Medlock, what you're saying about that, feeling I'm getting in my own way, that's really, so underneath that is the feeling fear, maybe hurt, maybe anger, maybe sadness, maybe joy. Sounds like probably fear. So we want to be friends with our fear and have it give us valuable data. Not just say like, oh, just don't worry about it because I'm doing fine. I can just keep doing on. If your intuition, if your gut's telling you something, what is it trying to tell you? So I'm just going to kind of take this on let's say that I have this and I'm like, well, everything seems great now, but if I were my upper management, I would at least want to get some updates every now and then. And then also, I'm kind of feeling afraid. I want to make sure that I'm not taking us in a direction that's going to be like a real pain in the butt to work back from. Okay, so wait. So the thing for me to do is to reach out to upper management and say, look, I'm going to expect to just check in with you on and make sure we're on track and at these points. And sometimes I, as a kind of cooperator personality, I actually have fear about doing that because I don't want to take up people's time, blah, blah. I have all sorts of excuses. But then I can address that and say, wait a minute, my kind of historical fear and stuff doesn't really serve anything here. So no, it makes sense for me to pay attention to the fear this way and actually set up the meetings or get more clarity for me so that I have the security. So I don't know if that's fits or not, but I just thought that's where my brain went with it. So wanted to give that example to everybody.
I think that's spot on. That's really, I think, really good coaching. Yeah, really listening to that and listening to your fears, because we have this exquisite radar to actually track what's going on, and our fear is very reliable. I think one of the indicators of your talk that's coming up is there are no bad feelings. There are no good or bad feelings, and so
yes,
fear. In fact, I remember a time when we were doing our work as leaders in groups that we lead, and we spent a month where our only job was to track fear in the group. Just track, because if there was any fear, somebody else was feeling afraid, or you were afraid about, that needed to be addressed, because to create a secure, safe container for people to really work effectively in our work, fear is really important to address. So I think it's a really important piece that you're mentioning, George. And I think it's a good, actually, maybe to reinforce and say a little bit about your talk tomorrow night, because I think people may find this useful just across the board in terms of what we're
absolutely. So thank you, Dr. Medlock, for teeing that up, because what you're saying there, I mean, think about that. That was, how many leaders were you with on that your job was just to track fear?
Yeah, well, we had a number of labs that we were running at the time, and I was running a group of about 8 to 10 people at that time. So there's a lot of fear that could be going on in the room at that time. So.
But just to get the value of this, because part of the problem with where we're at in culture and whatever, but just in evolution, is for whatever reason, it was useful for us to say that our feelings were a negative thing, or that they needed to be suppressed, that they needed to be managed. For whatever reason, that's happened. So we're all kind of hypnotized to think that the first thing we need to do is suppress our emotions. That may have been true at some point. What we're saying now is, though, we need to actually unlock that a little bit more, and allow ourselves to be more present with our primary feelings. So that fear one, just think about it. You've got how many people saying, whoa, this is so important that I'm going to be paying attention to fear for the next few weeks. Like, that's my job. And by doing that, I'm going to compare it to jumping into ice water. Because I'm a kind of a physical guy, and I do this. I jump into Lake Michigan. By the way, Lake Michigan is now flipped. It's cold, and I'm so happy because I go in and I can feel the ice and the cold going deep into my muscles, and it's amazing. And I know that it's doing its magic. But every time, I'm afraid. It never stops being scary. And I go in, and I go into the lake, and I feel it get cold, and I feel the cold come in. And the win for me is that I don't panic. And I can say, whoa, I can feel this, and I'm feeling the fear, I'm feeling this aliveness, and I can choose to stay here a little longer. I can stay with this. I'm not going to die. I'm going to be okay. And this thing that for years, when I first told my family about this, they were like, it was like, wait, what's wrong with you? Like, are you dying? Like, it was that kind of like, panic. And it's like, no, actually it's not. But we're the same way with our emotions, where we do everything we can do to get away from them. We eat them away. We drink them away. We have all kinds of ways to stop being present with our feelings. So going into cold water is just a physical thing. I'm working in coaching sessions and things to translate it to interactions, because we all have fear of engaging on some level. There's always this, we meet other people and there's this discomfort in there. So we're going further into that tomorrow to learn some of the skills of how to develop more and more of a relationship with our own feelings, with fear, hurt, anger, sadness, joy. And Dr. Medlock, just what you were saying about being present with the fear and how to use that to get more clarity about a job opening or a meeting that I'm avoiding or not looking forward to. It's such a skill to learn, to stay with that a little bit longer. So we're coming up to the end here. Dr. Medlock, is there anything else that you want to add there?
Have you got a link to that talk for tomorrow? Do people
Yep. Oh yeah, that's in there.
Okay, great. So no, I think we're good. I think for people, thank you for all participating today and working on your journey. And our job is to really support you in really having fulfilling careers. So bring your concerns, bring your yearnings, bring your questions, and our job is to really support you in that. So that I think the more that you can actively participate and use it to your own benefit, you're also going to serve the group as well. So we encourage that kind of engagement. So thank you.
Fantastic. I'll take us right up to the end. Dr. Medlock, if you need to jump, go for it.
Thank you.
We'll see you in a bit.
Okay.
I want to talk a little bit, Tyrone, and see if I can get a little bit in on this thing that you posted here. My hunch, because the next feeling after fear that we're talking about is hurt. And hurt is an incredibly valuable feeling as well. And especially for us guys, we are trained to be out of touch with it. Like, if I feel hurt, if I admit that I'm hurt, that means that I'm weak. That means, and in fact, it's incredibly powerful to be able to feel hurt. And as I'm looking over this, my sense with this is that what she's saying is she's giving some instruction on how she thinks the meeting is going to flow well, and that she can help moderate it. And then what I'm wondering for you, Tyrone, is what does she need to have this be valuable for her? Because she's got a busy schedule. And so what is the value that you can provide to her? And I bring up hurt because it's actually a skill to be able to sense my hurt. And and I can pay attention to other people's needs better that way.
Right.
Because I can feel like, oh, they have a hunger, there's something they need. And if I'm not paying attention to the feelings inside that I have of hurt, I'm going to be less aware of other people's needs.
Right.
So that might just be something to be in the question of, is what is it that she needs?
Right. And that's what I have to find out. Yeah. And I believe I already know. I've already know.
What do you think it is?
Well, I did send her a PowerPoint, like, of what the presentation would be like, the PowerPoint, but I haven't really collaborated with the other guys.
Okay, no, but so there's a couple things is finding what somebody needs. So my hunch on this is that if this podcast can help her in her career, help her get the attention, publicity, things that she needs, help her be more of an influence,
right.
Then it's serving a need for it. It's fulfilling a need for her.
Yes, and thank you for clarifying that for me, because that's what she's mentioned in the past about needing volunteers
Mhm.
for foundation. And that's what I want to bring to the podcast, to the Zoom meeting.
Okay.
People that are wanting to be, that are in the position to be volunteers, so she can express.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Thank you for clearing that up for me.
You're welcome, Tyrone. I had a hunch on it and I wanted to check it out with you. We've got a wrap, but great to have everybody here today. Thank you for your questions. This is good stuff. We're going to be back next week, Wednesday, noon to 1 p.m. Central, every Wednesday. And again, join me tomorrow evening. If you can make it for part of it, the whole thing, awesome. I love having you in there, engaging with you in the chat. If you can't make it, register anyway, because it'll give you access to the replay of it. And I'm looking forward to going in deeper on social and emotional intelligence tomorrow night with y'all. All right, everybody, take care. Joe, good to see you. Tyrone, good to see you. James, good to see you. Take care, everybody.